Consumer Talk
with Wendy Knowler.
You can join the conversation.
And before we dive right into today's topic, a listener on the WhatsApp line is asking how one checks if the electricity prepaid meter has been upgraded or updated. Of course, we know that that deadline is looming. I know that my colleague Africa Malani did an interview with Daphne Mkwena from Eskom, and they did touch on this during the interview this morning. So you could go back and take a listen to that interview. And Wendy Knowler's just let me know that one of her colleagues at News 24 has also written a very comprehensive article on that matter. So there's also that source of information available to you. Wendy, do you have any update on that?
No, I mean, my colleague William Brederuda wrote a very, very comprehensive article that was published in the last few days. And it's very long and it's very, very detailed. So if you want to get the lowdown, that's where to go. Under what should you do towards the end, he says, if you know that you entered 2 additional 20-digit numbers into your prepaid meter and your meter has continued to vend electricity, then the meter will continue to operate beyond the 24th of November. And then there's the Eskom number is here, which will be available online. And then there's a whole process that's too complicated to share on air, which is to verify if your meter is ready. Enter this particularly long number. If it shows 1 or 1.2, it still needs to be recoded. If it shows 2 or 2.2, it has already been updated and requires no further action. So as I say, try and find that story, and those very specific details are there for you to work with. Get your answers.
Thanks so much for that, Wendy. And we've just received that same long, complicated process from Grant, who's listening. Thank you very much for your message, Grant. But it seems the information is out there, so one must just
Google
look.
it. Yeah.
Now, in Consumer Talk today, we want to help you sift out the great bargains for Black Friday, which is next Friday, but also separate the real bargains from the pretenders or outright scams. And since it's International Fraud Awareness Week, we'll get you up to speed on what the latest fraud tactics are and how you can arm yourself against them. So now it is a proper good afternoon. Welcome back to CapeTalk to Wendy Knowler.
Thank you, Amy. Good to be here. I haven't spoken about Black Friday too much in recent years because in the early days when it's been big, when sort of, that Take a Lot, embraced it properly, and my big story was that the Take a Lot site would fall over, and others as well. So they just couldn't capacitate for the deluge of traffic to those sites. So that was always my news story. And then the back end couldn't cope with the thousands of orders, the huge uptick. And so I would get the complaints a month or 6 weeks after saying, is this a scam? I ordered and they're not communicating. So no service and no communication never ends well. But and now it's just more of the same, try not to save for your big ticket items because there are some bargains to be had. Know the prices, research them in the months up to November, what is it, the 29th this year, next Friday, so that you know a good price from one. And just because it says 40% off doesn't mean that you would have paid 40% more the week or month before. A lot of them will start, and they've been caught out many times, pushing up the prices in late October, early November, and then, or else saying it's 40% off, but if 40% off what? Oh, the recommended retail price, which was never charged. So it's manipulatable. So those that score the ones, and it's too late now, who are very, very systematic and single-minded about it. So they say, okay, I need to replace my dishwasher. What are the prices? What are the brands do I want? Okay, what does it normally sell for? I'm going to start saving. And then, getting ready to shop at midnight, because although it does start many weeks before, I think Hershey's even had some October Black Friday specials, and then it's become Black November, which is the case. This time 2 years ago, I was in Germany, in Munich, and they had Black November. It was for the whole month as well.
But before we go further on that, Wendy, I actually want to start there because I want to ask you about the time you really did the Black Friday complete madness and chaos, the real legit thing in the USA.
I'm glad I did. It was a while ago now. It was 2008. My sister has lived in Colorado for nearly 30 years now, and she had little kids at the time, 2 and 4. And so we hatched this plan that, as a consumer journalist then already, I wanted to experience they hadn't come here yet. But I'd obviously heard about it. So I wanted to experience it firsthand. So we left very early in the morning, dead of winter, and we spent the entire day in her local mall outside of Denver, which was, large. And then when we came out, it was snowing, which is an image that will always stick with me. Having not seen daylight the whole day. And then we went to a little log cabin in the mountains and came back the next day. The husband had looked after the children. But the thing that struck me, Amy, were two things. One, there were, it was days before the days when online was really huge. So there was huge traffic in the malls. So those sort of scenes, those classic scenes you think about with Black Friday, there was definitely a lot of traffic. The sales were when I wasn't a local, but my sister said these are very good prices. But more than anything, what I remember is the staff in every store, and believe me, we went into many. I remember writing a piece about it. Was that the staff were every single one of them were beyond friendly, beyond helpful, beyond sunshiny. And I thought, obviously, you've got to fake it till you make it, but also they don't tolerate bad service there. There's too much competition.
Really
and these people were just under the most enormous pressure, just offering, genuine smiles, how are yous. It wasn't just your flip, have a nice days. It was commenting on what we were buying. It was asking if we needed anything else, or nothing was too much trouble, whether they were at the tills, at the checkouts, or on the floor to help you. That really stuck with me. And wouldn't it be wonderful if the bonanza also extended to just exceptional customer service at this time?
That would be really, really great.
Yeah.
A shame. I do feel for people
Of
that work in
course.
retail at this time of the year.
And going into Christmas.
Yeah, I can't guarantee that I would do it with a smile on
me
my
neither.
face.
I'm just saying that would be certainly a standout. And the other thing which we don't necessarily get is the extent across the board. A lot of what is touted as a big Black Friday fest is actually not that huge of a deal.
Yeah, so let's go back to that, because that's where you started. You were on that trajectory, just saying that the people that really score are the ones that do their homework, that are disciplined, that are focused, that know what they want, and that wait up.
Get it into the cart, get into and use money that they've saved. So if you're buying on credit and you're using your budget facility, for example, your interest on that, if you're taking a long time to pay it off, is going to wipe out any savings that you've got. And if you got caught up in this whole FOMO Black Friday thing and you don't meet your repayments, then you're going to have a Black Friday present of a blacklisting on your credit record come January or February. So that's not great. And I was saying, but the Black Friday thing has really got such traction in this country that we had, starting in October, but then in July, a local footwear manufacturer, Tsonga, they, based in KZN, where I'm from, lovely product, but an email dropped into my inbox, Black Friday in July, and I was like, no, I couldn't. I mean, really? So I said no, and it was as my response, and the marketing person, I think it was, came back to me and said, what's the problem? And I said, why do we have to have Black Friday in July? We it's enough at the end of the year. And she said, it just works. We had a debate about this, in our team, and no sale works as well as when you brand it Black Friday.
Wow, that's so interesting.
We've kind of done this. We have responded to these two words.
Yeah.
And so it's no wonder that they're making them not just one day, but all year, and then sort of popping up in the middle of the year too, just because, Black Friday, let's spend.
Eating out of the marketing people's hands, aren't we?
Yes.
Now, Wendy, on that note, you've got some stats here. Tell our listeners a little bit about just how we are responding to Black Friday.
Right. So last year, because we obviously don't have this year's stats yet, BankServe Africa's online card authentication service, 3D Secure. So that's a huge sample, right, of what's going on in the market. They recorded 1.4 million Black Friday transactions, totaling 1.39 billion. So that could only have been on the day, because you can't track a whole random sort of month, right?
Wow.
1.39 billion. This increased 17% from the 1.2 million transactions of 2022. and it was a 39% improvement from the 1 billion spent during that event. I mean, you could argue that maybe climbing further out of COVID might have had something to do with that as well. But I think it's clear to say people, despite all the depressing economic factors, are rubbing their hands, the retail sector rubbing their hands, looking forward to another bumper spike, I suppose you'd call it. So Bank South Africa said that South Africans started shopping at midnight with over 30,000 transactions in the first hour. So people have literally, those are the ones who do Black Friday very deliberately, with very deliberate product in mind. Online sales peaked between 10 and 11 o'clock on the morning of Black Friday, with almost 94,000 transactions recorded. The last hour of Black Friday showed the largest hourly year-on-year online growth. Those are the last minuters, with 37%, 34,000 transactions. The last gasp hour, the FOMO people. No, let me just buy something. ABSA said, what I've done here, Amy, is I get, you can imagine in the last week in particular, just everybody puts out Black Friday releases. They find an angle and they work it, which is all helpful in terms of statistics. So I've just sort of mushed together the ones that I found most interesting. So ABSA says typically they see volumes peak on Black Friday. Recent history suggests that a significant portion of Black Friday or Black November spending still occurs on the Monday after Black Friday, which is known as Cyber
Monday.
Something that's also come out of the US. Looking at ABSA issued cards specifically, average transactions per second peaked at 61 per second. That's ABSA only, hey? On Black Friday last year, dropping slightly to 57 per second on Saturday and reaching 43 on Cyber Monday.
Phew. Let's move on, Wendy. When is best to shop the deals? When should you be shopping?
Okay, so around about now,
Okay.
mid-November is when the prices really start to pick up in terms of the bargains. And then Black Friday is when everything is really going to get discounted, and that's an American view, and it will stand here. Samantha Gordon edits Consumer Reports, which is a US fantastic consumer body that measures everything in consumer land. According to Adobe's 2024 US holiday shopping forecast, the strongest discounts of the season are expected to come between the 22nd of November, which would be Friday, the Friday before Black Friday, and December the 2nd, which is Cyber Monday. So we're right into the eye of the storm now, so to speak. Well, certainly from Friday in particular, but this week and then next week in particular.
And we've got so much that we need to talk about, and of course not never-ending time. So let's just skip ahead here and take a look at, with the deals come the scams. This is so important for us to figure out.
Yes. So a lot of the companies spoke about scams, which will tell you how prevalent they are. They spike in the week leading up to Black Friday because the attackers know that people are looking for good deals. They know it's now, bumper time for the sales. So be especially cautious around adverts or emails claiming exclusive access or discounts that seem too good to be true. Phishing emails and fake social media posts are common during this time. So don't click on links from unknown sources. We keep saying this, but people do because they believe that they're on a legitimate company's website. Scams can also include bait and switch offers where unscrupulous merchants only advertise products at extreme discounts to sell a different lower quality item. That's outlawed by the Consumer Protection Act, by the way. So stick with your very trusted platforms. There's also this fake out of stock claim. This warning comes from I can't see where I've put my notes now. We'll get to it in a minute. So these are basic things we talk about year in and year out, month in and month out, but it's gonna things are your chances of falling for a scam are much bigger right now. So hover on the URL. It might say the brand of shoes you want or whatever, but when you click on the URL, you'll see it's a different website address altogether. It's just masquerading. Ensure it's got the SSL certificate. That's look for HTTPS and that padlock symbol, and then check the returns policies, please. If you know, if it doesn't give you at least a week's cooling off period to send it back for a full refund, move on. If it doesn't have a physical address of the company and that you can check on Google Maps, move on. If there's no customer service number, if all there is an email address, then it doesn't matter how good that price is, you know, the money's going to be flowing one way, and that's from you to them and nothing coming back.
But Wendy, can I just throw a spanner in the works? If you've waited up till midnight, you've saved for months for this item, and there's only 10 dishwashers going at this price countrywide, you are in such a hurry to get one of those puppies into your cart, and now we've got a list of homework we need to do first.
You can do it before, though.
Okay. Oh, you can?
Of course you can. The website's there.
Okay.
So, yeah. Let me tell you, when people get caught, they become super sleuth. There's no limit to the time and energy they will spend online Googling whether there's a business registration number, when the website was created, all the reviews. Brilliant. And I want to say, I'm sorry to victim blame, but could you not have just done that before?
Okay. Well, I think that I'm glad we're talking about it, because definitely then that work needs to be done this week.
Absolutely.
The super sleuthing needs to be done.
While you're looking for the prices, and if you find one that's on your to-do list, do all those checks. I mean, things are a lot easier for the crooks now, but it's a lot easier for us to unmask them, and by doing the simple checks that all of us can do with even the most rudimentary tech knowledge. So, and then also ask about the warranty.
Okay.
So there's a 6-month warranty that the CPA gives us, whether the retailers like it or not.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, you have the right of refund, replacement, or repair, and that is your choice. But check on what they offer beyond that and what their terms and conditions are. And then also, this tip came from Naked Insurance, which is a good one, and it would come from an insurance company, is get it covered, as soon as you've bought it. Legally, if something goes wrong, if the delivery truck gets hijacked or there's a fire in the warehouse before you can get it, that's not your problem. The liability rests with the retailer that you bought from until the time it's delivered to you. But do remember to insure it. From a crime point of view, maybe don't put that huge flat screen box out on your verge the day that you unpack. Also remember about that box, should you keep it, should you not? If it goes wrong in 6 months, you don't need the box because of the CPA. If it goes wrong from month 7, the manufacturer will say, sorry, you don't have the box, no warranty, and there's nothing legally to stop them, because from month 7 it's a voluntary warranty. Look at the URL. Some listener says I've contradicted myself because I said the padlock a while ago was not necessarily a sign that it's safe. Yes, that's me not engaging my brain with a press release I got about things. It doesn't necessarily. It is a positive indication that, they, in terms of online banking, that they've gone through those protocols, but it doesn't mean the merchant is above board and not going to end up scamming you. So just a clarification on that. But always hover your browser over the address so that you know exactly where you are. Don't click on any links, especially not ones that are coming to you in social media. Even if you think it's within an ad that looks like it's from a reputable company, there's a lot of cloning going on. Please, please, please don't do that. What else? Interrogate the sites, look for contact details, make sure you can contact and try to contact them.
And then you mentioned
all
the
usual
warranty
things.
and keeping your slip.
And keeping your slip, and also get them to commit to a delivery period. Okay. Because the CPA says if they don't stick to that, you are entitled to a refund. Right? It's section. I forget the section and delivery section, but it's in there. So don't pay before on an open-ended delivery thing, especially with Black Friday. You don't want them to say it's coming, and 3-4 months down the line you don't have it. That's you wouldn't voluntarily accept such a deal, but you didn't interrogate the delivery date, so you must get that date so that you're entitled to a refund. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but the one thing I do want to talk about before we open the lines is something that is very prevalent in this country, and it's called BEC. I've spoken about it before, business email compromise. And essentially what it is, say you, Amy, do a service for me, you whatever, and you invoice me, you send it via email. I open the email, I think, okay, I'm going to pay Amy 50,000 Rand, and I pay it looking at the bank details in that email, not realizing that either your or mine email server has been hacked. The fraudster has been watching these emails going backwards and forwards, and then waiting for the invoice, intercepts the one with the invoice, alters the invoice, puts their banking details instead of yours, Amy, and I pay the fraudster. Now I still owe you.
Oh, that is dreadful.
And it's incredibly rife. The South African Fraud Prevention Service, which does an amazing job of fraud prevention in this country via various means. They've put out a release this week saying the increased nature of technology-based fraud is evident in the recent statistic accompanying it. BEC is a cybercrime, and they describe what I've just said. According to their statistics, this type of fraud has seen a huge jump in the last year. And I get these all the time, complaints from people. So Dr. Jones wrote to me to say, in March of this year, she was attempting to transfer 1 million Rand from her Nedbank account to an investment company. They had sent me an email with the bank details. Unbeknown to me, that email had been hacked and a fraudulent account number inserted to replace their number. The bank's fraud department was alerted and issued me a case number, and we also reported it to the police. Many calls to the fraud department produced no progress until 5 months later, when I received an email saying the funds had been used and no further action would be taken by them. A couple of weeks ago, this police sergeant came to my home with some information. The fraudster was a woman. She had the fraudster's name, a photograph of her, date of birth, and address, which all proved to be false. The advice is, and please spread this, talk about it in all your social interactions, your family and friends groups, whatever, is whenever you get a invoice sent to you via email, check the bank details before you make a payment, especially if you get it on a Friday. That's common.
Okay.
Because they think business is closed and you won't be able to check. So wait. Phone the number, not on the invoice, because obviously it's going to not be the right number. Phone the company, Google them, or take it from your own private, contacts list on your phone, and phone them and say, please put me through to the accounts department. I need to check your account details.
Okay.
They're very open to that. What companies should be doing, any company that sends an email via email, is put there, and you'll see it in many cases, in big letters, in bold, in red, whatever it takes. Please check these emails before making payments. So they're clear. They're saying, we've warned you, because you're not going to get that money back. And people, as I said, this case was 1 million, and it's gone. There's nothing she can do. She's still, her money, her savings, they were meant to be invested, are gone into a fraudster's account, because no checks happened. She didn't realize it was a thing, that this fraud existed. What I say to people as well, you can imagine how risk averse I am. I say, please send me the invoice via WhatsApp. And then you will still check. But
Wendy.
email.
I think that I'm quite savvy when it comes to these kind of things, but I have not heard of this. I've never thought to
I've been
question
talking about
the
it for a
banking
while.
details on an invoice.
I don't know if I've spoken about it on this show. I speak a lot about it on the Money Show, but really, I think I really would urge people to start talking about this. Never just pay an invoice that you got as an attachment in an email without checking independently.
App that you've highlighted this, as it is International Fraud Awareness Week. Is there anything else that you'd like to bring to our attention in terms of just keeping ourselves safe from these scammers? They seem to be getting more and more advanced.
Well, the main one is also, if you receive a call from anyone, they could say they're from MultiChoice, and you're thinking, well, this is safe, it's nothing to do with my bank account. They got a way, I've been highlighting this in recent weeks, of getting you to giving them access to your bank account. I won't go into how, but no, because the word bank account isn't mentioned, people are going along and thinking this person's helping them get rewards and extra channels from DSTV. They target elderly people a lot. And anyone who phones you, if they phone you from your bank and have a whole lot of information about you, don't take that as a sign that it has to be someone from your bank, because how else would they know those things? Our data has been breached and is out there in the dark web for these fraudsters to take advantage of. They phone because what they need is the keys to the safe from us. They need us to trick us into giving them one-time pins, reading them out from the SMS that your genuine bank has sent you. So rather just end those calls. Just end them. They want numbers and details out of you. End the call, and if you're worried, phone your bank yourself from the number that you've pre-saved and ask for the fraud department. And 99.99% of the time, they haven't contacted you. It's a fraudster.
Lots of questions coming in for you now, Wendy, and we do need to take a quick ad break. But before we do that, I just want to tell you, Joe's messaged about the business scam emails that you were talking about, saying always check the account detail directly with the recipient, then pay a small amount and get them to confirm receipt and then pay the larger amount, which is quite smart.
Yeah, and the other thing, Standard Bank does this, I'm not sure about the other banks, for a small fee, you can actually get the verification. In other words, that the company name and the account number match, because you might put in the company name, but all that has to happen for your money to go into that account is for that number to be valid at that bank. So they, even if you put in a number that isn't attached to that account, it will still go. That's why paying that extra verification fee, especially if you're transferring a large
$1 million rand,
is
worth it.
Worth it, exactly.
Worth it.
But that's very good advice.
Quite a few listeners responding to that business email topic of conversation, Wendy. Tony says, wouldn't it add another layer of security if invoices were sent password protected? And on the WhatsApp line says, again, similar to Joe, if I need to pay a large amount to someone, I pay a small amount and then check they've received the money, and then I send the big amount.
As I said to you off air, that's something 10 rand or whatever, just so you know. But you know, whatever works for you, but just check.
And then a question from Brendan, Wendy, saying, how come banks do actually call us and ask for details? Surely that they shouldn't do that at all. It doesn't help to clear the confusion.
I wonder what details he's talking about. They'll never ask you for pins or any numbers or anything that could get them into your account, that's for sure.
Okay. And then another saying, I believe this is becoming more common in terms of a banking scam. You get a call on your mobile and the number of your bank that's saved on your phone comes up, so you think it's them.
Yes, I should have mentioned that. I'm getting a rash of those. Thank you to that listener for pointing that out. I should have mentioned it. I need to engage with the banks as to whether they know that's the case. I had one just the other day where I think it was, one of the banks came up and she went along. Very clever on behalf of the fraudster, but devastating because you've saved the number.
How did they do that, though?
I don't know. It's obviously I'm not a technical.
That's something that you need to look
Fundi.
into, Wendy, because I mean that's going to obviously confuse people, particularly more vulnerable people, if they see a number that they trust on their phone.
Yeah, I'll go to the banking risk people. Make a note for myself now. To check that out. We can talk about that next week.
Okay, super. Thanks. Well, if there's nothing else on the topic of scamming and fraud and Global Fraud Awareness Week that you'd like to discuss, should we move on to some of our listeners' questions? Are you happy with that, Wendy?
Yes.
Okay, great. Keith on the WhatsApp line, Wendy, says, will a guarantee or warranty fall away if you change a two-way plug for a three-way plug? This is something I've done with hair dryers and hair appliances.
Yeah. This is such an interesting question, and the Consumer Goods and Services Ombud has flip-flopped on this over the years as the Ombuds have come and gone. So initially they said yes, because that qualifies as what the Act refers to as modifying the product, which then invalidates your CPA warranty. We're talking about the 6-month warranty here, right? The most important one. Then Ombud, Neville Melville, the first Ombud, came back to me and said, we've had a discussion, we've looked at international law around this, and if the rewiring of the plug had absolutely nothing to do with the fault that surfaced in those first 6 months, then the supplier does not have a right to refuse to honor the warranty on the grounds that the product has been modified, right? There has to be a link. It's like when, and this happens a lot, you take your cell phone in for a warranty repair and they say, oh, there's a scratch on the screen, and somehow link it. Well, technically not, there's not a link. That's not allowed either. But then recently in one of their case cases that they put out to educate the public, the Ombuds Office said that yes, if you do take off the plug, a two prong and put a three prong in, whatever, then be aware that you are invalidating the warranty. So my advice is don't change the plug. Get an adapter or change the socket. It's not an. I mean, I've just changed some in my kitchen that will take the round 3 ones that some appliances have, and the 2 and the phone charger. There's wonderful, I don't know what you call them, the plates that are on the wall, right? So you don't even need the adapters anymore.
Yeah.
That's a much safer thing to do, and just leave the appliances that you bought with the original plugs.
Certainly for 6 months at least.
Well, then the warranty that the manufacturers impose will say the same thing.
Yeah.
So you don't want to take the plug off.
Okay. Let's go back to the WhatsApp line now. And another listener has been saying, I've been fined by SARS for missing my tax submission, thinking I'd already submitted my return, 5,000 Rand fine. I haven't missed a submission since 2010, so I was shocked that I'd been fined 5,000 for a late
It's probably
submission.
a scam.
Really? So they're even using SARS now?
Oh, a lot. They have been for a while. Don't take my word for it. I'm just surmising if you've already paid. If all the details in that email check out, then maybe it's something you want to explore. Maybe your payment was misallocated or something. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of scams that where the fraudsters use impersonate SARS.
Sure. This gets quite overwhelming, doesn't it, Wendy?
It does.
And then Scott's got a complaint. It doesn't go into very much detail, but just says that after doing the latest updates from both the Checkers and Woolworths delivery apps, I'm unable to log in, and they just don't seem to care or able to help me. Have you heard any complaints about the latest apps?
I heard a complaint about the Checkers one, but it was just a case of the woman had downloaded, and the information, such as our personal details, etc., were just put in a different place, and so she thought they weren't there. I did check that out, but I think it's safe to say that it isn't a big problem, because if you consider the number of people who use those apps, my personal experience as well, there isn't a problem. So there's something that's just a little bit incompatible, a bug or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes when these upgrades happen, the hardware, people's phones are older and they don't accommodate the new versions well. And I have a lot of older people in particular phoning me to say, my phone was just fine now. I think of one of the banks updated their app, and she cannot now access the app on her phone. And the bank's saying, well, we try not to leave people behind, but eventually we do have to move on, and you will need to get a new phone if you want to still continue to access the app. As I say, there was very little information there. I'm just guessing.
Obviously very frustrating for Scott, but it's obviously a glitch, and
it's not a widespread thing, that's for sure.
Okay. All right. Another listener wanting to know if Lottoland is legit or if it's a scam, Wendy.
I don't know. That's not a simple answer. I would have to investigate.
Okay. And then on the SARS thing, Carol's responded saying, of course, you never pay SARS unless you pay from your banking site into SARS under the bank-approved beneficiaries.
Yes, good advice.
So there is that element.
Yes.
So essentially, if you get communication like that and you're unsure.
And check out the bank details. That's the first thing. But there'll be quite a few click-throughs, I think, to get to that.
All right, well, we've got a couple more minutes, and by a couple, I mean literally 2 minutes left with Wendy Knowler. If you'd like to send a very, very quick question or give us a call, you're welcome to do so, 021-446-0567, 072-567-1567. But there's something else that you want to let our listeners know,
related to
Wendy.
Big Friday, Big Black Friday.
Big Black Friday.
It is big, getting big every year. We were talking about don't take the plugs off, and that reminded me of something very relevant. We were speaking about the boxes. I was saying don't advertise to the neighborhood what you've just bought. And in fact, you may not want to throw out that box at all. I know that we have limited capacity in our homes and garages for these things, and it's very annoying. But here's the tricky thing. If your product goes wrong in the first... Did I say this already? If your product goes wrong in the first 6 months, the supplier, the company, doesn't have any legal right to say... we're only going to give you recourse in terms of the Consumer Protection Act if you have your box. The Consumer Commissioner said that's absolutely not the case.
Okay.
If the product's defective, what? Do they need the box to resell a defective item? No. But here's the trick. From month 7, when the manufacturer's voluntary warranties take over, they have the liberty of coming up with whatever terms and conditions they see fit. And of course, in there is original packaging, because that will naturally do away with a lot of warranty claims.
Sure. Okay.
So you don't need it in the first 6 months, but your product could go wrong from month 7. In which case, if you haven't kept the box, then you're not going to get any recourse. You're not going to get a repair or replacement or whatever.
So if you are buying an enormous big appliance like a
Try and
dishwasher or a
keep
TV,
it,
you're going to have to find somewhere for that
or throw it
box.
away. Throw it away immediately. You don't need it for the first 6 months, and then just hope that you don't need it from month 7. But it is a bit of a big risk.
Or perhaps flatten the box and try and pack it up in the rafters somewhere.
Yeah.
But good to know. So thanks for adding that in, Wendy. And that brings our time with you this afternoon to an end. But thank you so much as always
Amy.
for your wisdom and insight. And I will look forward to listening to you with Pippa again next week.